Welcome to members of the media for our inaugural brief on decisions of Cabinet Day. As usual, we have our Minister for Information who chairs the briefing team to make a presentation. So without much ado, I invite you, Honorable Minister, to read your briefing.
Thank you, Chief Secretary. I think it's in order. My sincere apologies, but we are here now. Inaugural e-cabinet meeting today, and this is the first cabinet in 2020. His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Comrade E.D. Mnangagwa, led cabinet in launching the e-cabinet solution. The new paperless platform on which cabinet will henceforth conduct its weekly meetings comes as one of the flagship e-government projects to be completed by the government of the Second Republic. The occasion of the launch, which preceded the normal cabinet meeting, marked a very significant step in the adoption of digital methods of running government operations. As a nation, we endeavor to enhance service delivery to citizens through electronic means. Furthermore, the e-cabinet system symbolizes close collaboration between government and private sector partners in the adoption and implementation of electronic platforms for transforming interactions with citizens, investors, and other nations. With the year 2020 heralding an era of productivity, economic growth, and employment creation, information communication technologies and innovation will create an environment that is conducive for inclusive growth and productivity. Cabinet will therefore utilize the new paperless system to accelerate the implementation of policies and programs within the 100-day management cycle. Turning to the business before Cabinet, while noting the progress registered by the Second Republic, particularly the Transitional Stabilization Program, His Excellency the President acknowledged the challenges that the people had bravely endured. He then laid out the business for 2020 based on set principles. He stated that the era of productivity, economic growth, and employment creation would be the most important things. His Excellency the President reiterated that as Cabinet, our immediate priority must be to guarantee food security and directed that all efforts be focused on that front to make sure that everybody gets food. He further directed all ministers, accounting officers, and senior officers to spend more time with communities in the countryside, implementing and monitoring key government programs that yield a better quality of life for all our citizens. Greater impetus must be placed on the arresting inflation and consolidating the monocurrency regime. The growth of tourism sector should be stimulated through cross-cutting alliances, competitive products as well as pricing regimes. The security sector is bided to urgently bring to an end the current scourge of violence by the unruly machete-wielding gangs and malcontents. Then we went to receive a report from the Minister of Energy and Power Development, Honorable Chasi, on the principles for the proposed amendment to the Electricity Act, Chapter 13.19, which is to introduce stiffer penalties for crimes related to electricity theft, the destruction of or tampering with electricity infrastructure. Cabinet considered and approved the principles for the proposed amendment to this Electricity Act, Chapter 13.19, which is to introduce, as I said, stiffer penalties for crimes related to electricity theft. ZESA has been experiencing increased incidents of vandalism, including the theft of transformer oil and copper cable conductors. The theft have resulted in ZESA incurring huge expenses in replacing the vandalized property, while the impact on business has been astronomical. To date, more than 927 transformers have either been vandalized or stolen in the northern region, 625 in the western region, 525 in Harare region, and 94 in the eastern region. The salient features of the amendments will encompass the following. A, reviewing the current penalty regime for identified offences in order to make the penalties more deterrent. B, classifying such offences under the Criminal Law Codification and Reform Act, Chapter 9.23, which governs high crimes including rape and murder. C, compelling courts to impose mandatory sentences as opposed to the option of fines, which may not be deterrent enough. For instance, tampering without lawful excuse with any apparatus for generating, for transmitting, for distributing or supplying electricity, with the result that any supply of electricity is cut off or interrupted, which used to attract an imprisonment of not less than 10 years, will, under the amended law, attract not less than 30 years of imprisonment. Government will from time to time review such penalties to make them more deterrent to would-be offenders. Over and above the stiffer penalties, government will also ensure that adequate surveillance machinery is put in place to apprehend such offenders, including through installation of electronic gadgets to detect the crimes. That is the report which was given by Honorable Chasi. Then we received another report on Zimbabwe's participation at the 50th edition of the World Economic Forum. This was presented by Minister Professor Mutuli Ngube, who participated at the 50th edition of the World Economic Forum, which was held in Davos, Switzerland from 20th to 24th January 2020. The forum was held under the theme, Stakeholders for a Cohesive and Sustainable World. World leaders, government officials, business leaders, non-governmental organizations, religious leaders, and academics discussed emerging socio-economic challenges facing humanity. The meeting urged companies to pay their fair share of taxes, exhibit zero tolerance for corruption, uphold human rights throughout their global supply chains, and advocate for a competitive level playing field. As delegation leader, Honorable Mutuli Ngube, Minister of Finance and Economic Development, hosted a successful Zimbabwe Investment Forum in Zurich on Zimbabwe's economic opportunities. Business persons from Switzerland and parts of Europe attended that event. The Zimbabwe delegation assured its audience of the continual improvement in conditions of doing business. That's the report which was given by the Minister of Finance. Then there's a report on the update on the tripartite negotiating forum. Cabinet received a progress report on the implementation of the tripartite negotiating forum from the Minister of Public Service, Labour and Social Welfare. Following the promulgation of the TNF Act on 5 June 2019, the TNF held its inaugural meeting on the 26th of June 2019 and mandated its technical committee to deliberate on key socio-economic issues affecting the country and came up with recommendations for consideration by the main TNF. The technical committee also developed the terms of reference for the clusters, which in turn came up with the following recommendations. Under economic cluster, the cluster made recommendations on the following: the need to develop monetary and fiscal policies that target inflation reduction, the need to enhance foreign currency mobilization and management, the need to carry out institutional reforms that provide productivity. And under the labor market cluster, the cluster made recommendations on the following: full operationalization of the TNF and Zimbabwe National Productivity Institute. Also expedite labor law reform and harmonization. Formulating on new employment policy as well as on income policy. Developing initiatives for the mitigation of erosion of salaries and wages and labor broking. That is under the labor market cluster. Then under the social cluster, the cluster made recommendations on the following. Revamping the country's social services delivery system, also improving relations between government and trade unions representatives, expediting the implementation of Kadoma Declaration towards a shared national economic and social vision, and conclusion of a social contract. The main TNF meeting will be held on Wednesday, which is tomorrow, 5th of February 2020, at NASA House, and this will be there to consider the recommendations by the technical committee meeting, after which a report will be tabled to Cabinet for its consideration. In attendance at the meeting will be the following ministers. Minister of Finance and Economic Development, who is the government leader, and then Minister of Energy and Power Development, Minister of Health and Child Care, Minister of Industry and Commerce, Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, Minister of Lands, Agriculture, Water and Rural Resettlement, and Minister of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services. I now want to give you the update on the country's power supply. Cabinet received an update on the country's power supply situation from the Minister of Energy and Power Development, the Honorable Chas. Cabinet noted that electricity generation at the country's major hydropower plant at Kariba remains depressed owing to low inflows into the lake in the wake of low rainfall in the catchment area. While every effort is being made to ensure that citizens and corporates continue to access electricity for sustaining operations, government wishes to inform the nation that greater emphasis will be placed on power augmentation projects, with commencement of works at the Patoka Gorge site being scheduled for this year. Focus is also being placed on the renewable energy, including the options of rooftop and solar farms set to gain momentum. An exercise to compute the space available for this option is being set in motion in order for the marketing to be undertaken with investors, many of whom have realized the immense potential that Zimbabwe possesses in relation to solar energy. Options for powering agriculture through smaller grids will be pursued as part of building resilience to climate change. I now take you to the last but not least, an update on the coronavirus outbreak. Cabinet received an update on the news coverage on the health front, namely the coronavirus, which was initially discovered in the 1960s and has now claimed hundreds of lives in China in the latest outbreak. And this report was given by the Minister of Health and Child Care, Honorable Obadiah Moyo. Among the symptoms of the viral infection are running nose, severe cough, fever, and difficulties in breathing. The Minister of Health and Child Care informed Cabinet that about 506 persons are currently under surveillance in Zimbabwe for possible infection with the virus. The Minister also indicated that there is currently no vaccine against the virus, and emphasized the need for personal, family, and community hygiene. The 506 persons have come from countries which are infected, and they are being followed and monitored. The Minister also indicated that there are no confirmed cases of coronavirus infection so far in Zimbabwe. And I want to repeat that. The Minister also indicated that there are no confirmed cases of coronavirus infection so far in Zimbabwe. The 506 persons which are currently under surveillance is because they've just come from areas where there are possible infections. he informed Cabinet that a public emergency operations unit is being set up as a national command center at Barrenetwa Group of Hospitals. Coordination will include airports and other ports of entry. Rapid response units will also be set up in all provinces and at all border posts. Further updates will be made available in order to safeguard the nation at all times. I want to thank you sincerely for listening to me. Thank you, and that's the first briefing the Cabinet today.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for such a comprehensive brief. Now we give members of the media time to ask questions to the ministers.
Sorry, Chief Secretary, I know I didn't introduce my colleagues, but I'm sure by now everybody knows who is present.
I was going to ask you to introduce before they pose questions.
That's all right. I think that's important. In case somebody doesn't know, Honorable Professor Mutuli Muli, our Minister of Finance and Economic Development, and that's Honorable Professor Mavima, our Minister of Public Service, Labour and Social Welfare, and on my left, far left there, that's Honorable Obadiah Moyo, Dr. Obadiah Moyo, the Minister of Health and Child Care. They are here to take all your questions and be able to give you more information if need be. Thank you.
Okay, as usual, we'll give you an opportunity to ask 4 questions, starting from the left, right at the back. Your name, please, the organization you represent.
My name is
Yes, speak up.
What's the name? Okay. My question is related to Professor Mutuli. If the meeting was successful, how many business persons have given a positive response, and how many more are you expecting if there's any?
Okay, you are saying how many business persons we have given a positive response. Okay.
And you said how many again? We get two-part question.
Yes. And
Part one, how many?
Are they looking for? Is he looking forward to
Sorry?
Say so.
How many more are you looking forward to?
I said, if it was successful, how many business persons have given a positive response already? And then how many more are you looking forward to?
So how many have given a positive response? Or
How many more are you looking forward to?
how many more are you looking forward to?
Right, that's any other volunteer? Yes.
That's all right.
Yes, my name is Anisma Safran from ZFM Studio. My question is directed to the Minister of Health. Is the country well equipped to handle coronavirus? Do we have the proper technical know-how to contain in the event of an outbreak? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have another on that side, yes. Yes, please.
Okay. Elami bizo ngumlondolozi ndo ngizabuza izindebe. Umbuzo wami ngiqondise kuMinister wezemali uMnumzana Mthuli. Wabancube size lapha kukhuluma ngendaba yokudla. Ingakanani imali esilayo njengelizwe. Ikakhulu nasikhangela udaba lwe-food security. Lapho lisho khona ukuthi lo nyaka lifuna ukuthi abantu abaningi abalambayo batholise imali. Ingakanani imali esilayo nasikhangela indaba zokudla from the OA Studio 7.
Okay, that was not discussed in the question, but I'm sure he will respond. Yeah, he is going to respond to your question. Right? Yes.
Between those two. Can you move to the left?
Yeah, because I can see you. Oh, yes, yes, please.
My name is Sharon Tawaya from Louisiana. Just a example to the Minister of Health. Last week when he inspected coronavirus testing equipment at the airport, he said there was need to procure more equipment so that the health officials are well equipped with maybe preventive clothing and the like. How far is that issue been attended to?
Okay. Right. Now we have 4, so we give the chance to ministers through the chair
Thank you
to
very
make
much.
a response.
Thank you very much for the questions. The first one is Professor Mutuli. The second one is Minister of Health. And the third one is Minister Mutuli. And the fourth one, oh, you are going like this. Okay, Minister Professor Mutuli. Kate Apamba, he wants to know the report from Switzerland. And he said how many business people gave positive response as yet, and how many more are you looking at receiving?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Tafamba, for your question. Yes, indeed, our participation at the WEF again was quite successful. As you know, the reason why we attend is it's not just to pursue business, but it's re-engagement more broadly. And business opportunities are a part of that. So let me start with the more public institutions. So I made an engagement with the IMF. As you know, that we had a staff monitor program. And we continue to engage with them so that we can make progress on the economic reform agenda and also garner the international support that is so required for us to be successful. And then we're also able to meet with the institutions that support Zimbabwe in the provision of food. I know that there's a subsequent question on food security. We're able to engage with them to let them know that Zimbabwe, first of all, appreciate their support and will continue to request additional support. Then, and I'm just randomly choosing those as well on the way. And number 3, we also had engagements around climate change. We spent a lot of time on climate change. Zimbabwe was impacted by the drought, severely impacted by drought, as you know, cyclone Idai as well, which is quite unfortunate. So it's quite clear that Zimbabwe has to focus on climate proofing its agriculture and making sure going forward we can be food secure whether there's a drought or not. So we spend a lot of time on that, sharing ideas on how best to do it with others, but also how best for that to be financed. Then comes the business issues that you're focusing on. Again, I met with so many business people. One, there was a company we met that's one who wants to improve cargo handling at our international airport. I met another company that wants to improve revenue collection. As a revenue collector, I welcome that discussion, you can imagine. I also met other companies that want to invest in the mining sector in Zimbabwe. Want to create a $12 billion industry going forward. They showed interest in this. And then also companies that are already invested here. In fact, here I'm very specific, a company like Lafarge. I met with them and they want to expand their operations in Zimbabwe and they want to make sure that we're on board with the right incentives as government and wish to support them. And then there are others who are in the fuel or energy business who want to continue to support us on the fuel front, new facilities in this regard. And then we also spend time with a few venture capitalists who are keen to partner with the new National Venture Fund for Zimbabwe to support our SMEs and startups. So you can see that there's a wide range of interest in Zimbabwe in terms of businesses that want to do business here, that are already doing business here. So some of them already responded, some of them want to respond in future, and some of them are showing a lot of interest. As you know, this is not a sprint. The engagement is a marathon. So it's part of that marathon of attracting foreign direct investment, but also just re-engaging in areas where we need to re-engage. But also it's an environment where it's easy to meet people. You can meet someone as important as Bill Gates. You don't even need an appointment when you're there. You just walk up to him and say, how are you, sir? How are you doing? You ask 1 or 2 questions. You're trying to make sure that Microsoft is basically is not a polluter in terms of carbon footprint by year 2030. was moved to zero. Things like that, and I'm just using it as an example, but that is real. I don't want to mention exactly the people that one met in this way, where you bump into someone and it is normal to stop them and talk to them. That's the nature of the forum. And it's useful for that for creating the sort of context that we need to be successful in our re-engagement agenda. It was largely successful indeed.
I guess.
Then on, again, also food security.
Food security.
Yeah.
I'm sure you understood better.
I understand.
I am not trying to.
London of me is really good to 10. But let me put it in English for the benefit of our colleagues. You were really asking about food security, which the President has pronounced it as a key issue to deal with this food security, energy security, and other macro stability issues, job creation, including improving environment for doing business, right? Food security for now. First of all, in the budget, 2020 budget, we've budgeted over $11 billion just to support agriculture. So in the main, it's been command agriculture, the presidential input scheme, all that is going towards ensuring food security. Of course, relying on the rains, but you know that some of our agriculture is supported by irrigation, so we expect something out of that. We're praying for better rains, not naturally. So that's the first point. So it's inputs that we're giving, as you know, but also investing in irrigation as an approach to climate proofing agriculture. But also we've set aside within that, but also in addition, set aside resources. For instance, in Davos, I met with 2 companies that were speaking to around raising additional resources for importation of grain. We know how much we need on a monthly basis, which is 110,000 metric tons of grain per month, and we have a clear importation program. We've contracted several companies already, private companies. We've issued lines of credit, because that's our preferred basically financing mechanism. Most of these lines of credit are cash back. We have the right levels of Zimbabwe dollars to cash back these letters of credit. I must say that so far so good in terms of putting that system in place. But the trick then would be to make sure that we build reserves as well at GMB. It's not just for consumption immediately, but also we build reserves. So if we watch our model, we want to make sure that those reserves keep rising. And we're targeting non-GMO maize for building those reserves, while GMO maize is for immediate consumption, but it's being handled properly through the right milling processes. But also we're moving into the winter wheat program, as you know, soon, and that again will be adequately funded. But also, I mean, the international community continues to support us on the food security front, WFP, World Food Program, and others. They're doing their part. But we as government are the major financier of food security agenda. So I think that as Zimbabwe should feel comfortable that we're on top of the situation through government's own efforts, as I've said, the variety of ways in which we're doing it, but also the effort of the international community. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Mtuli. I think you have been adequately answered, especially on the food security and assurance that government is doing everything to make sure that nobody will go without food. Now we go to the second question, which is directed to Minister of Health and Childcare. The first one was from Anesu, Minister Moyo, and Anesu would like his fishes from ZFM, and she was asking, is the country equipped enough in the event of an outbreak of coronavirus? And the second question is almost tied to the same thing. It was from Sharon. Sharon is from New Zealand, and she said last week when you tested the coronavirus equipment at the airport, you actually indicated that there was need to bring more equipment. How far have you gone in terms of acquiring that equipment? Thank you, Minister.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairperson. Is the country well equipped to fight coronavirus if it was to arrive? I have to say yes, we are ready. We've always been conscious of the having outbreaks, not necessarily for coronavirus. And we have public health teams in place. And only last month we were doing an Ebola simulation, just in case there was Ebola in Zimbabwe, what is it that we would do? So all the teams, all our forces that came from the whole country, and we all worked out and came up with a very good exercise, so everybody is ready and well equipped, and for this coronavirus. And at the same time, well equipped in terms of monitoring and controlling infection at our borders, right? At the airports initially, and at the ground ports. Recently I visited, besides Robert Mugabe, I also visited Victoria Falls. So we have assessed, and made sure that what is available there is adequate for us to be able to screen. We have thermal detectors, for the purpose of screening. We are checking on temperatures, checking on fevers, which is one of the major symptoms. So that equipment is available. I might as well answer the question, from the second question, whether we have more equipment. Yes, we have, luckily enough, been approached by Mimosa, and Mimosa have decided to donate equipment for all our airports, thermal detectors, for all our airports, which is highly appreciated. So we, right now as we speak, they went with one of our environmental health officers. In fact, they are there with the director in South Africa, where they are shopping for all this equipment, and they are going to come back, probably tomorrow, and that new equipment will be put, at the airports, where we already have equipment, but this is now the latest in the technology, in the, the thermal detection, so that we don't miss any case at all. So we are appreciating what they're doing. At the same time, we realize that our preparedness is in as far as being able to follow up all the cases that arrive at our ports of entry, and be able to make sure that on a daily basis, for at least 21 days, we have to follow them up. Whether they're going to Chinoi, going to Bulawayo, wherever they are, we have environmental health officers, will be able to follow them up, and that is the job that they are doing on a continuous basis. So there is starter information which is collected at the airports, and before the visitors even land, we know from the manifest where they are coming from. So as they come down, we know that at seat number 14A, seat number 16B, there was this person who was coming from this particular area. So they immediately are given forms, and they have to complete the forms and be able to indicate exactly where they will be during their duration, if they are visitors, or if they are returning, where they will be working, and so forth, so that we can be able to follow up. Preparedness in terms of isolation units, Victoria Falls is fantastic. The airport there is fantastic, because it's still new, I suppose. They've got a fantastic isolation unit and a quarantine unit, so the client, if the client is found to have a temperature, they have to be quarantined, and then they're examined by our doctors, and if they feel that they must be isolated, then or admitted, then they're taken to an isolation unit. I'm highly complimenting Victoria Falls, because that is where we get most of our visitors coming through as tourists. And, quite a lot would have been coming from China as well. So we are very happy that that area where we are getting more of the foreign visitors coming through is well supported. So we are happy with that. We have trained our public health staff, as I indicated, and we continue doing so. And this is now cascading to all our institutions. You know, we are in touch, you know, with the associations, medical associations, and encouraging them to conduct, you know, training, you know, for for the workers, you know, for the health workers. You know, we are calling for workshops and just making everybody fully aware of this coronavirus, you know, where it is coming from, how long it has been in existence, you know, and the symptoms and all that. So the cure, you know, so all that, you know, we are looking at that. There is no vaccine at the moment, you know, for coronavirus, you know, but there are some treatments like antiretrovirals, you know, which have been used with some success, you know, level of success. You know, that is what the information which is coming out of the World Health Organization so indicates, and also coming out of China. Antiretrovirals are being used. The issue regarding testing is one of the issues, you know, of concern. You know, whether we'll be able, if we had a case, whether we'll be able to test immediately. We are finalizing that arrangement. We have the equipment in our laboratories, but they did not have the relevant test kits specifically for this 2019 novel coronavirus. There are other coronaviruses, but this one is specifically the novel, 2019 novel coronavirus. So there are kits which have been developed in China, and we are in the process of acquiring those. You know, they should be here any time now. We are working together with the Chinese embassy in the sourcing of those kits. We also want our population to play a major role. So we are starting with awareness programs. You know, we've been working on our advertising material. You know, we want to be able to sell the information with regards to coronavirus to the whole population. We're working with ZTV so that they can flight, you know, information, awareness information. You know, we realize this has just happened, so everybody's now geared towards working towards those awareness materials. So those are being finalized. I'm sure we'll be seeing some starting maybe tonight or tomorrow. We have you know, messages, you know, working together with the platforms like internet, like Econet, Net1, Telecell, and sending messages through. It's a repeat of the HIV/AIDS scenario, really. So that knowledge is there, and we're just synchronizing it so that it becomes specifically for coronavirus. Madam Chair, I would like to also request the public to desist from giving false information, you know, on the social media. We've seen a lot of false information, you know, coming through the social media. Some people saying that things are not well at the airports and things like that. That is totally false information. You know, we have very good systems for screening and for follow-up. You know, so please don't listen to those who want to cause panic, you know, and you know, to the nation. You know, let's not panic because of such messages. You know, you've got the opportunity to confirm, you know, with the various institutions, health institutions. They will be able to give you the correct information, not what is now coming through the media, which is false. We've also taken advantages of requesting, or rather, we've requested that, you know, people who are, you know, who want to travel to the affected areas, they should defer their visits. You know, it's really very necessary that people don't go and get the virus and then come back here with the virus. So we would like to ask everybody in Zimbabwe, you don't necessarily have to immediately go to the affected areas, because you'll end up with a situation which you can't control. At the same time, we're also saying we were very happy. We've gotten information, from some of the embassies of the countries which are affected, and they've advised us that, they're actually sending out word not to come to Zimbabwe, which is very good. So we are very happy with that approach, by the embassies, who have advised their countries, fellow men, not to travel to Zimbabwe. Even for some people from the affected countries who were living in Zimbabwe and might have gone to back to their countries, for the Christmas holiday break. They are being advised to stay there until the situation is stabilized. So that's the situation, Madam Chair.
Well, I'm sure you've answered a lot of other questions which we're going to ask. So thank you very much, Minister. The message is clear. Let's desist from giving wrong information which will cause fear and panic among our people. The situation in regards to coronavirus is well under control. I think Chief Secretary, can you have the second session?
Yes. Right now we have the last session. 4 questions as usual, more or less. Many. Any volunteers? Yes, please.
It's Gibson Yekatino from Zimbabwe Voice. My question is directed to the Minister of Labour regarding the tripartite negotiating forum. So I wanted to find out how are economic challenges the country is facing impacting the negotiations amongst the tripartite partners, and what could be the possible impact of such challenges to the decent work country program or the labor market system. Thank you.
Okay. Any other volunteer? Anything at the back there? Section?
No.
No, I think.
So we might have satisfied everyone. So we just take just that person over to you, Chair.
Thank you, Chief Secretary. Thank you, Gibson from Zimbabwe Voice. This question is directed to you, Professor Maviru, regarding what is the impact of the present challenges on the TNF negotiations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In actual fact, the existence of the challenges gives more impetus for the TNF to meet and negotiate, as well as find solutions. The idea of the TNF really is to say, let's come together as Zimbabweans. Look at the problems that we have, be it economic problems, that also impact on labor and impact on society in general. If you look at what the chair presented as the recommendations coming from the technical committees, you will realize that they have segmented these challenges into economic challenges, labor-related challenges, as well as social-related challenges. And they have made specific recommendations as to how we can deal with issues of, for example, the instabilities in the monetary sector, issues related to mobilization of foreign currency. And you also realize that in the end what they are saying is, having worked together as the tripartite sectors, we should then come up with a strategy to say how do we stabilize things. so that we can have, better standard of living for our workers, a more responsive economy in terms of the things, the aspirations that we have as a nation. So the forum itself is meant to address these challenges. How does it affect the decent work program for the country? The same suggestions, which in the end are going to come to government, are meant to stimulate growth in the economy. With growth, you then have employment, hopefully better jobs, hopefully in the manufacturing area, but even in the primary areas like agriculture and mining, those will be better jobs than just your basic jobs. So the whole idea of the TNF is for Zimbabwe to come together and say what problems do we face and how can we solve them. And this is a very unique way of, instead of throwing invectives at each other, instead of being polarized, we want to come together. Labor, government, and employers, so that we can come up with a strategy or strategies to make sure that our economy moves towards the aspirations that we have as Zimbabwe. Vision 2030, which is achievement of upper middle income status by that year, but also looking even beyond that to say how do we industrialize, how do we develop our various sectors, how do we develop the rural areas, so that in the end we have the social contract which can give us economic development. Thank you.
Good. That brings us to the end.
So thank you very much for coming. We meet next week. Thanks for such interesting questions. Thank you, Honorable Minister.